All right. I think we are live. Let me just double check here. Yes. All right. You got a great clip of me drinking my 5 p.m. coffee. Yes, on webinar days, I do like to double dose on the coffee, my friends. Okay, I'm just checking over here on my second screen to make sure that we are good to go. And it looks like we are rocking and rolling. Let me just mute this. Okay, fabulous. So, hello. Welcome to today's workshop. I don't know what time it is where you live right now. For me, it is 5:01 p.m. And I am just so grateful and excited to be here with you this evening or this morning, wherever you are in the world, to talk about this stuff because this is what fills me up to talk about. This is what gets me so darn excited to wake up in the morning to talk to people about is motivation and time and how do we fit it all in a day and how do we stay fulfilled and excited and passionate about what we do, especially when we have these long to-do lists of so many things we want to do and create and accomplish. So, if we haven't met before, my name is Melissa Griffin. I am an educator for entrepreneurs. I love teaching about things like marketing and helping you grow your following and your community. But I also love helping you create a life that is sustainable and really helping you dig into the deeper reasons why that hasn't happened for you yet or what's blocking you or getting in your way. So, I am really just thrilled to be talking about this stuff today with you. So, what I'm going to do first, I would actually love it if you would leave a little comment in the chat. I think you have to sign in. You can click guest if you don't have an account, and all you have to do is just type your name in. So, it's super easy. You can just add your name, pop into the chat, and that's where you'll be able to ask questions where I can answer them or my team if they know the answer to your question. So hop into the chat and just let me know your name and where you're tuning in from, because I think it's always just so much fun to see that people are tuning into these workshops from all over the world. I just absolutely love that aspect of doing these workshops. And can I also just say, I recently redid my office and I'm really feeling it. I'm looking at it in the video right now and I'm just feeling so excited and so grateful for being able to work in this space. It's different when you can see it like on a screen all at once. So, anyways, I see people already starting to type in and letting me know where you all are from. Welcome wherever you are in the world right now. I'm just honored and grateful to be able to teach you this stuff today. So, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen. I have a bunch of slides that I want to share with you, and I am fast. I like to do this quickly because I know some presentations can be really boring if there's a million slides or when there's not a million slides and you feel like you're just staring at the same thing the whole time. I like to make things quick and fun and fast paced. So make sure you've got your pen and notepad out ready to take notes. I've got some questions for you to answer and you are ready to learn. I also recommend that you close out of other browser tabs that you might have going on your computer. Put your phone on do not disturb and really give yourself the next 60 to 90 minutes to really just dive into this material because it's going to impact your life in a meaningful way if you let it. So I'm going to share my screen right now. I know you're with me here and we're going to get started. Okay, let me just make sure we're looking good over here. Oh, thank you, Janet. Said you're never ever boring. Thank you so much. I like to keep it fun, you know? Just because we're learning something doesn't mean it has to be like textbooky. It can be really fun too. So, okay, fabulous. Well, hopefully you're in the right spot today because we are talking about 3 secret ways to get your spark back when you feel unmotivated and uncreative. How do you get that fire, that passion, that enthusiasm back for what you create in the world? So you're in the right place today if you feel like you don't have enough time to finish everything that's on your to-do list or accomplish the goals that are important to you. You don't have enough time in a day. You're also in the right place if you feel like you're always busy. which leaves you exhausted and overwhelmed. And yet it feels like your big goals are still so out of reach. So you're always working, and yet you aren't accomplishing the things that you set out to accomplish. So, what's the deal? How can we fix that? Now, you're also in the right place if you feel unmotivated and uncreative when you work on your business and you don't know where all your motivation went. So maybe when you started this thing, you were gung ho about it, you were really excited and passionate. And now all of a sudden, you're like, why do I sit down at my computer and feel like all my ideas just go out of my brain? Everything just leaves me when I'm trying to get things done. And finally, you're in the right place if you want your creativity, your vibrance, and your health back. You want to feel like the radiant, energetic, and passionate person that you know you are. I felt the exact same way. I went through my own experiences with feeling severely unmotivated and unproductive, didn't know what it was from, and really just desperately wanted that fire and passion back. Not just because it would help me be more productive, but because it makes my life more fun when I'm passionate about all the things that I'm doing. Now, today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite lessons from my program, Get Your Mojo Back. So, you're going to get some of those best lessons from this program for free today. Now, again, my name is Melissa Griffin. I'm an educator for entrepreneurs, and I just love helping people grow their business's revenue and also their community, but doing it in a way that's sustainable and fun, and in a way where you can feel motivated and energized by the work that you do. Now, my trainings have been featured all over the internet in places like Forbes and Entrepreneur and Business Insider. And I've personally had the opportunity to help almost 15,000 students in my various online programs. So I want to just let you know before we get started, if you share a photo, if you take a photo at some point during today's training of your favorite tip and you post it on Instagram stories, you will be entered for a chance to win a giveaway with prizes that are some of my favorite products for if I'm ever feeling unmotivated or I don't have energy. I put together a little prize pack of some of my favorite things I use on literally a daily basis, and we will send it to your house if you're selected. So all you have to do to enter, take a photo at some point. You can take it of your laptop, your desk, your computer, your favorite tip from the workshop today, and just post it on IG stories, and just make sure to tag me so that I can see your post. And that's my username right there. Now, my own story with this stuff, because I'm going to be talking all about motivation and flow state and how to get more done in less time. But you might be wondering, well, what's your experience like with that stuff, Melissa? So for me, I started my current business. It's my second business. I started it in 2015. And within 18 months, that business had earned over $1 million in revenue and had 100,000 subscribers. So basically, it blew up. And for somebody who didn't have tons of business experience at the time and was really just creating something for the fun of it, it was pretty shocking. And it was amazing. And obviously, there were so many great things that came out of it, but there was one problem. I simultaneously felt more pressure to succeed than ever before. Yet I was extremely unmotivated, exhausted, and busy all the time. So I was feeling all this pressure because it was like, whoa, my business is growing and it's becoming successful. I need to make it even better and more successful. I need to work even more, because I had this fear that everything would just go away if I stopped working. And that was combined with feeling really unmotivated and exhausted because I was really working myself to the bone, but sitting down at my computer and feeling pretty unproductive a lot of the time. So ultimately, once I started feeling that over and over again, that lack of motivation, that exhaustion, I decided to take some time off from my business to understand why I wasn't as productive and passionate like I used to be, and why I felt like I never had enough time to do it all. So I actually took 6 months off from my business because I really wanted to investigate what's really going on here. Why am I busy all the time and yet not accomplishing all the things that I set out to do? Why do I feel this lack of motivation and feel unproductive a lot of the times when I sit down to work on my business? Why do I simultaneously love my business and yet can't seem to find the time to work on it? So I took the 6 months off And I spent a lot of that time learning and researching about things like what causes a lack of motivation and a lack of focus and how to cure it, how to manage my time in a way that I could do more with less effort. So my new time management system was totally opposite from what I'd been doing before. I researched where motivation comes from and how I could get myself in the mood when I had to finish a big task, and how to heal the deeper reasons why I was working myself to the bone in the first place. So that time that I took off from my business was just life changing because it showed me how I was showing up in my business before in a way that wasn't sustainable. And then I started to see that, oh my goodness, almost everybody I know does the exact same thing. And they're starting to have the same problems with a lack of motivation, focus, inconsistency, all of the above. And you might be feeling the same way, which my guess is why you signed up for this workshop. So all that research that I did made all the difference. My new strategies that I was using completely changed my life, added hours to my days, and gave me my fire back for my work. So what changed and what are these new strategies all about? Well, you are about to find out in today's workshop. So the truth about being unmotivated. It starts as something kind of elementary. You can start by feeling a lack of motivation, stress, exhaustion, being unproductive, or feeling overwhelmed. It kind of looks like when you sit down at your computer, you look at your to-do list, you think, okay, I've got this, and this that I need to finish today. And you look at it and you think, I just don't want to do any of it. I just don't have it in me. I just feel tired. I just don't feel like it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. And you start to have these thoughts, and then you start to feel guilty because you're like, oh gosh, I felt the same way yesterday. How am I going to get that fire back? And when will I stop feeling so stressed out from my business? So this is how it starts. Now, if you don't actually work on it with the right strategies to fix this lack of motivation from the root up, then it can escalate into constant exhaustion, stress, and overwhelm. It can even manifest into things like a racing heart, frequent anxiety, apathy, headaches, and body weakness. Now, I had all of the above. I actually started to manifest some physical symptoms of my lack of motivation, which was making it even harder to work because I would feel these things like the headaches, the racing heartbeat, and the anxiety, which is added to my lack of motivation. And then if you don't work on those things and you just let it keep escalating, which I did, then it can result in things like isolating yourself by not hanging out with your friends or seeing your partner as much. No energy to do the things that you used to love doing. Difficulty finishing work. You might start a project or have an idea and then just crap out halfway through and not be able to finish it. Starting to think, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? And really having an apathetic outlook on the rest of your life can even result in things like adrenal fatigue and thyroid problems. So I had all of the above because I didn't take stock of that lack of motivation feeling. I just let it continue and thought, well, I'll just get over it. Or maybe I'll start a new project and that project will motivate me more. But what I didn't realize was that there was so much underneath my lack of motivation that I needed to investigate and work on if I wanted to ever get that fiery, passionate, energetic, productive feeling again. So, wherever you are in these three stages, I want you to kind of self identify here. And I want you to consider, especially if you're in the first or second stage here, that you have an opportunity to heal it now, to fix it now before it escalates into something much bigger or even more physical where your body starts to shut down. So, especially if you're in the first stage or the second stage, you have such an opportunity to heal and to fix this issue, this lack of motivation, before it becomes a bigger problem. So let me know in the chat right now. Type yes, all caps, into the chat if any of those symptoms feel familiar to you. Anything that I just listed, if it feels familiar to you, feels like something that you've experienced in your life before, please let me know in the chat right now. Okay, and while you're typing that, let me know those big yeses. I want to make sure I'm not the only one who's felt this way. Now I'm seeing a bunch of yeses start to pour in. Yes, lots of exclamation points too. Yeah, and that's why you're here. You're doing something about it, which is freaking fantastic. Good on you for actually prioritizing this and seeing that it's becoming a problem. Good for you. All right, so let's try something. I want you to take out your pen and your piece of paper and answer the following two questions. Now, don't think too hard about your answers. I want you to just trust the first response that comes to your mind, because usually that first response is your intuition talking to you. And that's really important to listen to. So the first question is, how do you currently tend to feel when you sit down to work on a big project for your business? How do you currently tend to feel? Now, it might be that you feel unmotivated, you feel tired, you feel exhausted, you feel like you cannot get in the zone, or maybe you do feel really excited and happy. I'm kind of just assuming you feel more on the unmotivated, uncreative side, because that's what we're talking about today. But how do you currently tend to feel when you sit down to work on a big project? Write it down. It could just be one word. And then how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? If you could envision exactly how you want to feel when you sit down to work on your computer, work on your business, what would that feeling be that you would feel on a consistent, regular basis? Write that down too. And I want you to circle both of these feelings and take a photo. Take a photo on your phone, circle both of those feelings. And this is going to be your reminder of why you're here right now, why you're working on this right now. Because if that feeling that you currently feel on a more regular basis is something that's not bringing you joy or fulfillment in your life, then you have an opportunity and a duty to work on it so that you get that feeling that you want to feel on a regular basis. Because how you feel is what your life is made up of. If you're constantly not feeling great when you sit down to work on your company or at your job, then that permeates through the rest of your life. So you have a really big opportunity here. Okay, so you're probably ready to learn my 3 secret ways to get your spark back, right? So let's do this. Let's dive in to my 3 favorite strategies. Now, the first one is to find the root cause. Find the root cause. No band-aid solutions here, my friends. So when we're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and stressed, what's our typical solution? What's our typical solution? What advice do we always hear when we're feeling overwhelmed or unmotivated? Bubble bath time. I feel like we often hear that if we're feeling unmotivated, we're not getting things done, we're feeling tired, then take a bath or read a book or do a face mask or do something to take care of yourself. And those are fantastic solutions to an extent. They're fantastic things to do to help yourself, but self-care is not going to cure the root cause of why you're feeling unmotivated and unfocused in the first place. So it's important and you should do it, but don't expect that self-care alone is going to help you get rid of your lack of motivation. Because what I've found from my own experiences and from talking to tons of other entrepreneurs online, what their lack of motivation is caused by, it's not something that can be cured by just self-care. There's always a root cause. There's always a root cause, a deeper thing that we probably have no consciousness of in the moment, that's actually running how we show up inside of our businesses, and that's making us unmotivated. So what should you do instead? You should investigate the root cause and do the work to heal it. Otherwise, you'll continue repeating the same patterns throughout your entire life, and not just in your business either. Let me explain this a little bit. So root causes of your lack of motivation are based in core fears. So we all have core fears inside of us. Even the most courageous people deep, deep, deep down have core fears that are still simmering below the surface. We learn these core fears usually in childhood. And if we don't do anything to investigate them, to build self-awareness around them, and to heal them actively, then they'll start to creep out in our lives. They might come out in the way that we respond to something with our partner. They might come out in the way that we respond to a mean comment that we receive online. They might come out when we sit down to do our work and feel unmotivated. And you might not even be aware that these core fears are existing right below the surface of your life. But if you haven't yet done the work to investigate them, then they are always going to be present. And some core fears that are very common are things like I'm unlovable, I'm not worthy, I'm bad, I'm not as blank as other people, as funny, as pretty, as smart, I'm defective, I'm abandoned, or people are likely to abandon me. So these are really common core fears that we might have. You might have one of these, you might have all of them. That's normal. But what you get to do and what you have an opportunity for here is to really investigate, what are my core fears and when do they come out? And can I start to heal them so that they don't get in my way when I'm trying to do the things that I love? So I want to share an activity that I love, and I call it going to the bottom of the well. So step one with this activity is to think of what's the goal, activity, or reason why you're working so hard. Because if you're here right now, then I presume that you are working really hard. And that's part of what's making you feel unmotivated and exhausted all the time. You're always busy, you've got a lot to do, and yet you're just not feeling the motivation. So, what are you working towards? What's the big thing? It could be you're working on a launch for your business, or maybe you have a certain sales goal in mind for an online course that you're doing, or maybe it has something to do with something totally different. Maybe you want to be an amazing mom, or you want to get first place in your soccer tournament or something. It doesn't matter, but think about the goal that you're working so hard to accomplish right now. Step two is to keep asking investigative questions until you reach the bottom of the well. So I want you to think that you have this bucket and you have this sort of pulley system where you're putting the bucket lower and lower and lower into this well so that you can see what's really at the bottom of it and really discover what are those core fears that are driving you. And I like to think of step two as really just putting your detective hat on and getting curious, almost like you're a reporter about your own life, where you want to just know everything. You want to get to the deep, deep bottom of why you do what you do. And step three is you'll know you've gotten to the bottom of your well when you discover one of your core fears. So I'm going to pull back the curtain and get a little vulnerable with you and share my own well. So when I noticed my lack of motivation, that I was feeling unproductive, exhausted all the time, that's when I took some time off from my business to really investigate my own awareness around my own core fears and why I was doing the things that I was doing. So here's what my well looked like. So step one, remember what's the goal or activity you're working so hard for. So mine was, in general terms, I want to grow my business and help my community. So I was working so hard at the time, trying to find ways to grow my business, to grow my community, to help more people. And I was really working myself into the ground. So that was my goal. Step two, remember, we're asking those investigative questions, putting on your Sherlock Holmes hat and really just treating it with curiosity. So I want to grow my business and help my community. Okay, the question that I ask myself as a reporter here could be, so what would happen if you didn't grow your business and your community? What would happen if you didn't do that? Well, my answer would be, I'm afraid that if I stop, my business will crumble and my community will leave me. Everything will go away. Okay, so what would happen if everything went away? Says the reporter investigator. Well, if everything goes away, then I won't have anything to show for myself. Ah, what would happen if you didn't have anything to show for yourself? Says the reporter side of me. Well, no one would know that I'm worthy. And so it gets to the core fear of I'm unworthy. And so you can see how, if that's the very bottom core fear that you have, you start to layer it on with, okay, I'm unworthy, but I don't want anyone to know. So I'm going to do all these things in my life to layer on top of this unworthy feeling so that no one will find me out. So I'm going to build a business. I'm going to grow my community. I'm going to work so hard all of the time, and so that I can do this and accomplish this and grow it so that people can see that I'm worthy. But deep, deep, deep down, the fear is always there until it's investigated and healed. So until I uncovered this unworthiness fear, I just kept working myself into the ground, which led me to feeling exhausted, unmotivated, and overwhelmed all the time. But once I was able to find my core fear and see how it was permeating throughout my entire life, I was able to heal it and work on it on a daily basis, even now, and make more aligned decisions that are aligned more with what do I genuinely want to bring to the world versus what do I want to bring to the world because I'm afraid, because I think it'll help this core fear that I have. Hopefully, you can see the distinction here. It's about making decisions that come from a more genuine, authentic place that will bring you fulfillment versus that will help you avert a core fear that you have. So, hopefully, this is landing for some of you. I'm just checking here in the comments. Yeah, cool. I appreciate you sharing some of what you're seeing come up too. Fear of failure, fear of success. Yeah, totally get that. So, this activity will often show you that the reasons you're working so hard all the time are to avoid your core fears. Until you consciously heal your core fears, you'll always be operating from this place and recreating the exact same situations. So I wish I could tell you that this recent bout, about a year and a half ago, that I was feeling unmotivated and unproductive, I wish I could tell you that that was the first time that ever happened in my life. But I can't, because it had happened many other times before, because I had never investigated why I was feeling so unmotivated. I just thought, well, I'll just do like a time management strategy. I'll just look up a blog post and try and understand what I could do differently about managing my time. And so I would use these surface level strategies when really what I needed and what you probably need is to go deeper. Because if we keep putting band-aids on our problem and we keep band-aiding our lack of motivation, then we're just going to get band-aid solutions. And eventually that wound is going to come back out, and potentially in an even more drastic way. Now, how do you heal core fears once you've identified them? You can do things like meditation, journaling. Journaling is a great way to help you build more awareness around your patterns and how you show up and what's behind the things that you do in your life. Creating stronger boundaries builds so much self-love and self-discovery. Working with a coach or a therapist, finding a community to support you in your growth and your healing, and digging deeply into your self-awareness and discovery. So we don't heal core fears by trying to think our way through them. We have to do things, and I like to do a variety of things to really investigate them and to heal them. Now, what's at stake if you do heal these core fears and you build the awareness around them so that you're not bumbling into your work unknowing about all these things that are affecting your day and affecting how you show up? Well, you'll have more energy and motivation, projects that are aligned with your soul versus other people's expectations of you, more fulfillment in your life, and more happiness. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty freaking awesome, right? Okay, so we've got step 1 down. Tip number 2 that I want to share with you is something called a flow state ritual. So what is flow state? You might have heard of this term before. I know it's kind of a popular term now. I believe it was discovered in the 70s by a man named Dr. Mihaly. And he discovered that there is a state of being where you are challenged by the work that you're doing, but excited about it at the same time, or almost your sense of self just starts to disappear. You're so in the zone that you're not even thinking, you're just like part of the activity that you're doing. So for example, when you're playing a sport, you're just in it. You feel like you're part of this activity that you're doing. Or if you're painting something, or you're dancing or singing, like when you watch somebody at a concert and you feel like they're just in another world, it's because they're in their flow state. It's a state where you're not really even thinking consciously. You're just like part of the activity that you're doing. And when you're in flow state, you are inherently productive, focused, creative, and you come up with really great solutions to problems. Now, the issue is that most of us do not do our work in this state of mind. We do our work a little bit differently. So, what usually happens when you sit down to work? Something like this, where we're rushing from one task into our work without transitioning into this new task. Where maybe you were just getting the kids dinner and then all of a sudden you look at your clock and you've got an hour to finish a blog post. So you run into your desk and you work on the blog post really quick. Or maybe you're coming back from your full-time job and you want to come in and work on your business. So you're sitting down to work on the business, but you're rushing around because you don't have a lot of time. Or maybe it's something else, but the point is that you are rushing into work without transitioning into work. And I'm going to tell you what that means in a second. Transitioning, that's an important word here. You're also often diving right into work, usually with mundane tasks like email. So email is a flow state killer. Email is never going to be part of your flow state, unless you've got some really creative, exciting emails, perhaps. But things like email or administrative tasks are inherently going to pull you out of a flow state. And usually those are the things that we check first when we sit down. Things like social media and email, which just pull us out of our work. We're also often armed with a long to-do list of all the things we expect to get done that day, which can just lead to a lot of overwhelm. And so when we work from this place, flow state cannot exist. So we're literally creating the circumstances in our businesses and in our lives where we cannot be as productive as we normally could be if we just changed a few little things. So instead, you can consciously transition into your flow state so that when you sit down to work, you easily focus, feel motivated, and produce your best work. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty sweet to me, right? To just be able to sit down and get right in your zone without just like hoping that the creative urge hits you or hoping that you get into the zone that day. What if you could actually command this flow state? What if you could actually create it so that when you sit down, you can almost instantly get into this frame of mind, which, by the way, is going to help you get more done in less time, because when you're focused, you're in the zone, the work just pours out of you and you just feel more creative, more resourceful, and you create better work in less time. Kind of like this woman. I feel like she's totally in her flow state, don't you? I absolutely love this video. Okay, so let me know in the chat, type yes if it would change your life for you to feel more motivated, able to focus, and excited about the work that you're doing. If you had something like a flow state creator where you could just sit down and get into your flow state and just focus and feel consistent and excited and all of the good things. So let me know, type yes into the chat if that would literally change your life. I know for me personally, it has changed my life. So I'm curious what you think. And I'm seeing all the yeses come in already. Yes. Yeah, we get it. Okay, so I actually have a fun example, and I'm so thrilled to be able to use an example from The Office because it's one of my favorite shows. But to get into your flow state, you want to do something called a cue. You want to create a cue. So what is a cue? Well, first I want to show you this example. Hopefully you can hear this. I'm going to use my mic and put it up to the microphone here.
Let's reboot again. Hey, Dwight, do you want an Altoid? What do you think? Dwight, want an Altoid? Okay. Altoid? Sure. What are you doing? What? I don't know. Well, my mouth tastes so bad all of a sudden.
Okay, I love that example from The Office with Dwight and Jim. So if you didn't notice, Jim, who was giving him the Altoids, was playing a prank on Dwight here. And what he was doing is actually something that's founded in psychology, which is conditioning a response. So what Jim was doing was every time that chime played on his computer. He would hold out an Altoid to Dwight and say, "Hey, Dwight, do you want an Altoid?" And Dwight would always take one. So over time, because Dwight would hear that sound every single time and then be asked if he wants an Altoid, he started to condition a response. It became a cue for him to accept an Altoid. So at the end, you saw that Jim played the chime on his computer and Dwight just instinctively put his hand out, waiting for an Altoid. And Jim was like, "What are you doing?" The prank, obviously. And Dwight was like, "I don't know, but my mouth suddenly tastes so bad." And it's because he'd created a cue. Now, the cue in this case was the chime on his computer. But what if you can create a cue in your life to trigger a flow state? That's exactly what we're going to be doing. So there's different types of cues, and these are taken from Charles Duhigg, who is a researcher on building habits. So he says there's 5 different types of cues, and these cues can be used to create any habit. I'm just talking today about how you can use these cues to create a flow state habit, to just trigger that flow state in your mind. But you can use cues like this to trigger any habit that you want to. So one type of cue is a location cue. So let's say that you want to trigger your flow state. Well, maybe there is a certain part of your house that you only sit in when you want to get into your flow state. Or maybe at your office, you walk by somebody's desk, and every time you see that desk or like a sign that they posted on their desk, you always take like a jelly bean off of their desk, because every time you see their sign, you're like, "Oh yeah, they have jelly beans," and then you take one. So a location cue can be how a location triggers a response in you. Time is also a cue. So for example, if you notice that around 1 p.m. every day, you always want to get a snack. Around 1 p.m., you always want a snack. That could be a time cue where at a certain time of day, you're triggered to have a certain response. And this can actually be a great cue as well for you to determine when is it best for you to be working? When is it best for you to be doing these big projects? Because we all have different times of day when we're the most productive, and that's something that you can track as well. Another cue is your emotional state. So for an example, an ineffective habit is like if you're really sad, and when you're really sad, you reach for the ice cream container and you eat junk food and ice cream. So an emotional state can also be a trigger for a certain habit. Other people can be a cue for a certain habit as well. So maybe every time you see that person when you're walking around your office and the one who has the jelly beans on their desk, you strike up a conversation with them, you take a little handful of the jelly beans, and you wouldn't do that if maybe they were out of town, because you wouldn't see them and walk by their desk. So other people can be a cue for you as well. And then finally, an immediately preceding action can be a cue too. So what this means is that perhaps there's something you do before you start a habit. So I'm going to actually show you a bunch of examples for this one when we talk more about your flow state cue in just a moment. But this could really be anything, any action you take, and then beginning a habit right after. So that action starts to become associated with that habit. So my suggestion for getting into your flow state is an immediately preceding action or a location cue. So what's something you can do always and only before you want to get into your flow state? So some examples of cues, especially the immediately preceding action cue or the location cue, are things like inhaling a focus essential oil. So perhaps every time you sit down at your computer or wherever it is that you work, maybe you don't work at a computer, you inhale a focus essential oil or some kind of essential oil. You don't use this essential oil at all, ever, except for before you're going to sit down and get into your flow state. Or maybe it's playing a particular instrumental song on repeat. And when you hear that song start playing, your brain starts to say, "Oh yeah, it's time to get down to business." Maybe it's sitting at a flow state only desk, or maybe there's a part of your house that you don't need to use all the time, so you can reserve it as your flow state corner or flow state desk. So you know that every single time you sit there, you're only working on your flow state projects. You're not working on anything else. You're not checking Facebook. It's literally just for getting into your flow state. Or maybe you can light a particular candle and say an affirmation so that that can trigger your response. You can dance to a particular song every time before you get into your flow state. Or maybe even do a particular guided meditation. So you could do this every single time before you're going to get into your flow state. One that I love is writing down your business's mission statement or why before you're going to get into that flow zone. So I like this one because it just helps you connect and have clarity to why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you sitting down to do what you need to do? Why is it important to you? And that just helps you to create from a place of purpose and alignment. So these are all examples, but you can create whatever it is you want to do as your cue. The point is really just that it's something that's always and only happens right before you need to get into your flow state. Because just like Dwight and Jim, you want to trigger that immediate response inside of your brain. Something actually shifts in your brain where you start to associate that thing, that cue, with your flow state, your most productive, most creative, most motivated period of time. Now, step 2 is to make sure that your flow state tasks actually qualify as flow state tasks. So flow state isn't something that you can use for just any task. Things like email, for example, wouldn't qualify as a flow state task. So you do want to make sure that you're reserving this time for things that are high challenge and high skills. So if you take a look at this chart here, this was invented by Mihaly, who is the creator or the founder of Flow State. And he created this chart of all the different types of feelings that we can feel when we're working on something. And they're all dependent on how challenging something is and how many skills we have in that department. So for flow state, you ideally want to find a project or an activity that has a good amount of challenge and that you have a good amount of skills for. So high challenge, high skills. For something on the opposite end, like apathy, we feel apathetic when we're doing things that have a low challenge, so they're not very hard for you to do, and you have low skills in. So you just start to feel apathetic. You're like, why am I doing this? But what gets really juicy is when you get a little bit closer to the flow state, like anxiety and arousal or boredom and control, where there's something needs to shift. So for example, if you take a look at the top left where it says anxiety, you feel anxious when you have tasks to complete that are very challenging, but you don't have a lot of knowledge or skills in. So the solution so that you can get into your flow state is to develop more skills in that area. Maybe it's taking an online course, hiring a coach, doing more research. In the same grain, if you look at boredom and the bottom right, you can see that boredom strikes when something is not challenging. It has a low amount of challenge, but you have a lot of skills. So it's like something where it's super easy for you to do, maybe repetitive tasks, email, and you just feel bored. So to fix this and to help you get into your flow state, what you need to do is add more challenge to those particular tasks. So how can you make them more challenging so that they're more invigorating for your mind? So you can use this chart to see where you currently, which state do you currently tend to run in your business? So are you in flow state most of the time? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling worried? Are you bored? What is it that you're currently feeling? And just take a look at a chart to see what needs to change in order for you to get more into your flow state, to find tasks that are both challenging and that require skills and knowledge from you. Okay, and then step 3 here is to design a flow state ritual. So I know we don't have tons of time today, so I won't get all up in your flow state ritual grill right now. I want you to start with thinking about a cue that you can create to trigger your flow state. But what you can also do is create a whole little ritual that you do before really getting into your zone. And I like to think of your flow state ritual as accomplishing 4 different departments. So how can you get your mind into the right state? How can you get your body into the right state? How can you get your spirit into the right state? And how can you adapt your atmosphere to help you get into flow state more? So as you're creating your own flow state ritual, I want you to think of your mind, body, spirit, and atmosphere. What do you need to do and create to get yourself into the zone? And are you currently doing those things? Or can something shift in how you're currently showing up when you get down to business, when you get down to work? Okay. So, oh, we're already on our third strategy here, but I'm so excited about this one because we're talking about the time management myth. Now, like I talked about before, time management is something that I thought was the end all be all. When I would feel unmotivated before, I would think, okay, I type in time management strategies. How can I get more done in less time? What do I need to do or change in my schedule? And what I realized is that I was looking for the wrong solutions because what you don't need is time management. So, how most of us manage our time when we talk about time management are things like to do lists, multitasking, and lots of small decisions. We think that the solution here is about better time management or better managing our time, but it's not. It's about better managing our decisions. So I don't want you to think about time management if you're busy, you feel like you don't have enough time. Usually it's not about the time that you have and it's not about how busy you are. It's actually about how do you make better decisions so that you can get more done effortlessly and actually free up more time in your schedule. So this is something called decision management. So it really flips time management on its head because time management is all about how do I manage the time that I have? How do I use productivity hacks to manage my time? Decision management, again, goes more to the root cause of why you don't have time in the first place. So it really helps you to evaluate what are the decisions that I'm currently making in my life and business? Are they supporting or hurting the vision that I have? And how can I get rid of some of these decisions or make better decisions so that I can get more done in less time while feeling passionate, purposeful, and fulfilled by the work that I'm doing? So, decision management has a few problems that it's tackling. So, the time management solution might be make a to do list, but that's a problem because to do lists are often based on other people's priorities rather than your own priorities. They usually come from things like emails that people send you, requests from clients. And so, when you make a to do list on everyone else's priorities but your own, you create a business that doesn't fulfill you and that doesn't motivate you. So, no to-do list, my friends. To-do lists often also have lots of small items, which lead to overwhelm. And I'm going to get to why that is in just a moment. But lots of small items rather than tackling the things that are actually important to you. And to-do lists, unfortunately, have no prioritization. So you're literally just building a business by the seat of your pants. You're like, whatever's on this list is what I'm doing, even if it's not actually aligned with the vision that you want to bring to the world. So the decision management solution here is your BFD task, your big effing deal, as I like to call it. You need to have a BFD task every single day. So your BFD task will be the priority task that you finish first every day. It's ideal for flow state productivity because usually your big F and deal task will have a high amount of challenge and you'll have a high amount of skills for because it's usually something that is important to you, that you want to create in the world, all those good things. And it restructures your time so that you live your purpose. So rather than tackling your to-do list with all these minute tasks that aren't moving the needle on the things you actually care about, your BFD task, tackling that first, is actually going to help you free up more time to finish those small things, but actually move the needle on the big projects that matter to you most. Another problem with time management is multitasking. So, research shows that we are terrible at multitasking even when we think we're not. So, there is a study actually where they researched people who multitasked and they found that even to their surprise, the multitaskers were far worse than the researchers thought they would be. They thought they'd be like kind of bad at multitasking, but what they found was that people who multitask are really bad at multitasking. And what was even crazier is that the multitaskers, when they were interviewed afterwards, thought they did an amazing job, thought that they got so much done. And the researchers were like, whoa, this is crazy. This is crazy because these people think that they're getting so much done, and yet they're like hardly getting anything done. So they're almost in this like delusional state. I want to say that's a little harsh, but you see what I mean here. So we think we are great at multitasking when in fact our brains are just not designed to do this. There's also something called attention residue. So when you're multitasking, for example, you're writing a blog post and then you see a notification pop up on Slack, or you get a buzz on your cell phone and you're in the middle of writing this blog post and then, oh, you pick up your cell phone because you heard it buzz, right? So you might as well. You pick it up, check the text, you respond to the person, then you come back to write the blog post. And then you're like, wait, where was I in that sentence I was writing? What was I talking about? And so it's called attention residue because part of your attention is still like a residue on that disruptive or distracting task that you just were working on. And research estimates that this attention residue costs about 25 minutes, meaning that when you come back to work on the thing that you were supposed to be working on, it takes you about 25 minutes to really get back into your zone and into your flow state, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. And especially if you think of how many distractions we allow into our world, maybe somebody who comes into your room or your office when you're working, or a phone buzzing, or a notification on your computer. There's so many distractions that we surround ourselves with, and we try to multitask and allow them all at the same time. And it costs us so much time and effort when we do this. So, regarding multitasking, really quick, I just want to share something about the hunter versus gatherer mindset. So, I've been doing a lot of studying underneath Alison Armstrong, who is a researcher who actually has been researching for like 20, 25 years about how men and women operate, how we operate on an instinctual DNA level. And what she's found is that back in the day, people were either hunters or gatherers. And generally, the hunters were men and the gatherers were women. And so when a hunter would go out, they would be single focused. They had to be single focused on just looking for like a saber-toothed tiger or a bison or some animal to hunt so that they could bring it back for food for their family or their community. So hunters often went out by themselves and they were extremely focused. They had those laser eyes on looking for the saber-toothed tiger. Now, on the flip side, gatherers were usually the women in the tribe or the community, and they would be the ones who would go out and gather things. They would gather berries and fruit. They would simultaneously be feeding a child while they'd be walking around. They'd be in groups chatting with their friends, and they'd also be looking around trying to make sure that they weren't eaten by a saber-toothed tiger because they weren't out there hunting. They were just out there picking berries and gathering wood and things like that. So we might be modern people, but we're still living in these ancient mindsets. So hunter versus gatherer. And so we now fluctuate between the two of them, hunter and gatherer, but we're still living in those ancient mindsets. So if you identify as a female or you identify as feminine, then you might be living in the gatherer mindset. And how that shows up in our modern lifestyle is that when you sit down to work on your computer, you suddenly have awareness of everything. You have awareness like you did in those ancient times of the field, the berries, the kids, the friends, the saber-toothed tiger that you're watching. And how that shows up in your regular day is you sit down at your computer and you see in the corner of your eye, a pillow's on the ground. Damn it. You got to go fluff that pillow and put it back on the couch. And then you look over and you see there's like dirt on the kitchen counter. And you got to go clean it because you have awareness of everything versus the hunter that just has the awareness of the single thing that they're trying to hunt. But the gatherer has this awareness of everything around them. And so it's really hard to get into our flow state when we are operating in this multitasking gatherer mindset where we see everything, we get really thrown off when things are messy or out of order. And we're not single focus on the task. We're texting our friends and we're basically using this multitasking awareness. So I just throw that in here because I want you to know that part of your brain on the feminine side is encouraging you to multitask. And that can make it difficult too, because we're literally wired to do that. But yet it's not productive when we're actually trying to hunt a task down in our business. So the solution here is tackling your big F and deal task, the BFD task, and doing something that I love called Pomodoro. So the Pomodoro method is something where you set a timer, and they say you set the timer for 25 minutes. And during those 25 minutes, you are only focused on that one task. I like to use it for the BFD task. So you're only focused on that one single priority task, and you don't check Facebook, you don't scroll through Instagram, you put your phone on do not disturb or in another room altogether. You don't talk to anybody. You're single focus, like the hunter mindset that we just talked about. And then the timer goes off and you have a 5-minute break, and then you come back and you have your timer again. So you can keep doing these cycles over and over again. And it really just helps you to get into your flow state more quickly, especially with cues and designing a strategic flow state ritual. I actually even like to set my Pomodoro timer for like 45 minutes, because I find that once the timer is going and I have removed all the distractions, I just get into my flow state so much more quickly that I don't even need just 25 minutes. I can go for like 45 minutes or an hour. And what you also want to do is divide up those bigger projects into smaller manageable chunks that you can finish every day. So if on your to-do list it says work on online course, you might see that and your brain thinks, well, what does that mean? I don't know. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because it feels like this big, overwhelming task. So what you need to do is identify what are those projects that I want to put in my BFD task every day, my priority task, and how can I divide them into smaller daily tasks that I can do? So for example, if that big task for you is work on online course, then maybe one of your tasks would be something like do research about online course topic. Figure out what your topic is. Maybe the next day is create outline for module 1 of online course. That could be the next entire day's task, but you need to identify what the big task is and then split it up into smaller chunks so that whenever you go to do your big task every day, you know exactly what it is you're going to zero in on, and your brain doesn't have the opportunity to feel suddenly overwhelmed and exhausted just by looking at this task. All right. So you still with me here? Awesome. I'm seeing so many great comments in here from everybody. Great. Okay. And if you have questions, by the way, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'm going to be doing Q&A after this workshop is over pretty soon here. So if you've got questions, leave them in the chat and I will be sure to answer them at the end. Okay. So another problem here with time management is something called decision fatigue. So you make so many decisions every single day, and you're probably not even conscious of a lot of the decisions that you make. They're often small, unimportant ones. And making these decisions drains your ability to make important decisions. So decisions could be things like, what pair of shoes will I wear? What socks am I going to wear today? What am I going to put in my coffee this morning? What should I title this blog post? So any decision that you make goes into your decision bucket every day. And if you're a really healthy person, you get great sleep, you eat healthy, your decision bucket might be at 100% every morning. Now, if you don't get great sleep and you're not healthy, then your decision bucket might be starting at a lower percentage. But if it's starting at 100% and you're making tons of decisions every day, then that can really start to lower that decision bucket. So tasks take a long time because you're moving at a slower pace. This is why people like Mark Zuckerberg wear a uniform. He wears the same t-shirt, same pair of pants every day of his life. He's a billionaire and he wears a t-shirt every single day. Why? Because he doesn't want to have to make tons of decisions about what he's going to wear each day, because he knows that if he has to spend time thinking about, well, do I want to wear this shirt or this shirt? That's taking decision-making power out of his decision bucket. It's lowering his percentage. And he knows that he wants to use those decisions in the most productive and efficient way possible. So that's why he saves them for his company or his family versus what he's going to wear. Now, I'm not telling you have to wear a uniform. I sure don't want to. But you can think about the decisions that you make that could be more streamlined or that could be more systematized so that you don't run out of decisions by the end of the day. Because if you eventually do, then it's sort of like running out of RAM on a computer where suddenly your computer gets really slow and you click on something and it takes like a minute for it to pop up because it's just out of juice. And eventually you got to restart your computer because it's out of RAM and it's not going to be operating. Well, we operate in the same exact way, where if you have so many decisions that you have to make every day, from tiny ones to big ones, eventually you're going to run out of steam too. So the solution here is decision management. So creating stronger boundaries around your time and decisions, making more aligned decisions and tackling your BFD task first. So first thing in the morning, and making more aligned decisions so that you're not saying yes to every single thing, every opportunity that comes your way. You're being more strategic and more intentional about the decisions that you make. And delegating decisions to other people, whether it's a virtual assistant or somebody on your team, or maybe your partner, asking them to help you out. But a big thing here is being willing to ask for help. A lot of us are afraid that if we ask for help, then we're going to look bad, or people are going to think we don't have it all together. When in fact, asking for help is such a powerful thing that we can do in our lives. So together, healing the root cause, getting into flow state, and creating a decision management matrix will help you live a more motivated, energized, and productive life. So here's why you came to this workshop today. You're feeling overwhelmed, unmotivated, and even burnt out. You want to better use your time and stop repeating the same ineffective patterns. And you want to get to your creativity and your fire back. You want to feel like you're actually moving the needle on projects that matter to you. And you want to feel like your happiest, most vibrant self while you do it. But how? How do you get into that zone on a daily basis? How do you create amazing work from a place of motivation and productivity and fulfillment? How do you get rid of those feelings of a lack of motivation or exhaustion? I want to introduce you to a program called Get Your Mojo Back. Get Your Mojo Back is a 4-week program. It has online workshops and group coaching with yours truly. So GYMB is an online experience that will help you enthusiastically reconnect to your creativity, consistency, and self so that you can ditch your overwhelm and lack of motivation for good. So here is what's included in Get Your Mojo Back. 4 weeks of live classes. So the topics for these classes include things like research and exercises on overwhelm, motivation, and even burnout. Understanding the patterns in your life that perpetuate a lack of motivation and time and how to change them. Deep self-discovery so that you can reconnect to your purpose, creativity, and authentic self. And a decision management framework to help you get more of the right things done with less effort. Now, Get Your Mojo Back is a $500 value, and you're also going to get 4 weeks of live group coaching with me. So this is a $2,000 value, all of these group coaching calls where you'll be able to do one-on-one hot seats with me. We'll dive deep into the root cause of what's causing your lack of motivation, your lack of consistency, your lack of focus, and help you make a game plan so that you can show up in your life and business in a more motivated, passionate, and strategic way. Now, the program and group coaching alone are worth $2,500. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, but you're actually going to get it all for just $397. And actually, if you buy before tomorrow night, you'll get $100 off. So less than $300, you can get 4 masterclasses all about how to get your mojo back and 4 live group coaching calls with me for less than $300. Pretty crazy. And that is actually just the beginning because you're also getting additional bonuses worth over $1,400. So bonus number 1 are 4 weeks of daily journal prompts for self-discovery, creativity, and more. Bonus number 2 is a library of guided meditations for burnout, creativity, healing, and energy. And I'll give you a tutorial too if you've never meditated or you've struggled with it in the past. I'll give you a tutorial as well about my best practices for meditating and why it's so helpful and so important. It's actually something that I use when I'm trying to get into my flow state. So these meditations will be really helpful for you too. Bonus number 3 is we're going to pair you up with a Bliss Buddy to help you grow and keep you accountable. And your Bliss Buddy is essentially accountability partner, but we do things a little bit differently. We don't just pair you at random with a random student in the course. We give you a survey to fill out, kind of like a little personality assessment. And then we use it with all the details of your assessment compared with your time zone, what you're struggling with, all the good stuff. And we pair you strategically with another person in the course that we think would be an amazing fit for you. And because we put so much intention in how we pair people together, we've had students tell us that they literally met their best friend in my courses. They've literally flown out to meet them. They've been friends for years now. All these types of stories we get from people because we put so much intention behind how we pair people. It's almost like a dating service for finding your entrepreneurial BFF. All right, bonus number 4 is a live class with my personal doctor answering all your questions about burnout, exhaustion, etc. So I personally worked with a doctor, Dr. Adam Sanford here, and he helped me with doing blood tests, helped me with prescribing supplements and things that I could take to heal my burnout and lack of motivation. So if it's gotten that far for you where you're feeling exhausted all the time, overwhelmed, apathetic, and it's time to see a doctor, this will be a great starting point for you where you can get your questions answered by him. And he's also going to be talking about a lot of different things that will be helpful for you. Bonus number 5 is an invitation to our members only Facebook community. So if you want to find your tribe of people who just get it, who want to accomplish more, who want to live a purpose driven life, but are also feeling a little unmotivated and you want encouragement and support from the people inside of this program, then you'll be able to join our Facebook group as well. I'll be in there too to answer your questions, as will my team. And bonus number 6 is you're going to get creative quests. And I really wanted this program to not just be an online course. I wanted it to be an experience because I just want it to be fun. I don't want it to feel like you're reading a textbook. My courses are never like that, but I really wanted this program to feel like a creative experience where you're really tapping more into who you are as a person in a fun and enthusiastic and experiential way. So creative quests you're going to get them here and there throughout the program at a surprise time. And they're going to help you rediscover your creativity in a fun and unique way. So I've thought of some really neat and unique ways to reconnect to your creativity. So every now and again, I will send you a creative quest that you can do, usually on a weekend. And it'll just be a fun way for you to reconnect back to yourself so that when you come back to your business or your job, or your family, you just feel more rejuvenated. And you get all of this for just $297. And again, that $100 off is only until tomorrow night. So make sure you join ASAP if you want to get that discount. Now you have 2 enrollment options. So you could pay in full for $297. You save 24% if you do it that way. Or if a payment plan sounds better to you, then you can get started for $97 today, followed by 3 more payments of $97 to follow. And what are you going to learn inside of Get Your Mojo Back? Well, week 1, which starts next Thursday, you're going to find the root cause. So I know we talked a little bit about this today, but there's so much more, a lifetime of root causes to excavate. So we're going to excavate the root cause of why you're unmotivated so that you can make the biggest progress. We're going to identify your soul's true purpose. And I have a really fun exercise on how to do this and create a game plan to start living it. We're going to find where the decisions you're making are not in alignment with your true purpose, and then find those decisions that are so that you can live a much more intentional and fulfilling life. And then we're going to create practices and utilize strategies to heal the root cause of your problems, why you're unmotivated, why you're exhausted, why you're bored with your work. We're going to do all of that in week 1, starting next week. Week 2 is the decision management matrix. So we're going to identify what's eating up your time and motivation, and it might surprise you. I find that people are often surprised where their time goes once they start to keep track of it. We're going to create your own unique to you decision management matrix to make aligned decisions and get back oodles of time in your schedule. And we're going to learn my 3-step boundary boosting process, how I get it all done in a day, and more. So week 2 is really all about how do you find more time in your schedule to accomplish all the things that you want to do without burning yourself out or feeling exhausted. Week 3 is the flow state framework. So we talked about cues today, but we didn't have time to get into the flow state rituals and things that you can do to get instantly into your flow state and keep yourself there. So we're going to create a personalized flow state ritual to instantly feel motivated and creative when you sit down to work, and understanding what motivates you and what drains you the most. So with some easy tweaks, you'll feel reinvigorated, focused, and consistent with your work. So flow state, we talked a little bit about how you need to make some adjustments to adjust your mind, body, spirit, and atmosphere so that you can get into your flow state. So during this week, I'm going to share all the research and all of my findings about what you can do to adjust those 4 areas of your life so that you can easily get into this state of mind when you're trying to sit down to work. And week 4 is ongoing mojo maintenance. So you'll learn how to understand the nuances and warning signs that your lack of motivation is telling you so that it doesn't turn into something bigger or worse. How to take care of those 4 areas, your mind, body, atmosphere, and spirit, for big leaps in your creativity, health, and more. And how to learn how to plan a solo visioning retreat to create an aligned business and life. So I personally do solo vision retreats every single month, and I'm going to show you how to plan yours, what you should do on a solo vision retreat, and how you can do it literally from your house. Sound good? Well, what I teach in this program changed my entire life. I created this program literally because I was going through the same things that you are right now. I was feeling like my fire's gone. I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. I'm so unmotivated all the time. I can't get anything done because whenever I sit down to work, I just don't feel productive. And so I did a lot of research. I did a lot of learning, and I made a lot of changes in my life and in my business. I thought I had it all together, and I didn't. And so when I made all these shifts, it changed my life and made me just so much more productive, so much more passionate and excited again, and really changed how I do business. So what I teach truly changed my life. And that is literally why I created this program. So if you're ready to get started, take just 30 seconds to fill out this form, or you can visit the page where you can learn a little bit more about the program. Just look for that button on your screen right now. And of course, we have a 14-day money back guarantee. So if you go through the program, you feel like it's not what you need or it's not helpful, you've got 14 days to ask for a refund, no questions asked. Now, some things that you should know about this program is that this is the lowest price this program will ever be. Right now, you can get it even lower with a $100 discount. So remember, until tomorrow night, it's less than $300. This is the only time I'll do live group coaching calls for this program. So remember, you're going to be able to get access to an entire month of group coaching with me. I'm going to be doing hot seats. I'll pull you up live with me so we can actually hammer out your own situation together. But I'm probably not going to be including this in future rounds of this program. And to work with me one-on-one, my lowest fee for coaching is $10K. So getting into this program and being able to do those live coaching calls and hot seats is a steal. And I wanted to make it a steal because I think this stuff is so important, so foundational for how we create a life and a business, that I wanted to make it accessible for more and more people. Now, there's literally no better time to join than today, given everything that I just mentioned. And I want to just call out the elephant in the room that you might be feeling. You might have this sort of internal struggle where you're thinking, well, this program is nice to have, but I should invest in that program that teaches me how to make 6 figures. And that might sound good. And it might seem like this is a nice to have compared to a program that's like, I'll teach you how to make more money. But here's the deal. That kind of training, while it's important, doesn't do you any good if you have zero energy, time, or motivation to put into action. And in my experience, most of those trainings lead you down a path that's unaligned with what truly fulfills you. So, one way or another, you might end up hitting a wall if you don't tackle that lack of motivation or focus or your inconsistency before it gets worse. So, in my opinion, learning how to maximize your motivation and time, take care of your body and mind, and align all your business decisions with what's best for you isn't just a nice to have. It's crucial for your success. Now, let me know if any of this sounds familiar to you. You're feeling overwhelmed, unmotivated, and maybe even burnt out. You want to better use your time and stop repeating the same ineffective patterns. And you want to get your creativity and fire back. You want to feel like you're actually moving the needle on projects that matter to you. And you want to feel like your happiest, most vibrant self while you do it. You want to feel like that sparkly, bubbly version of you. Well, if that's the case, then I will see you inside Get Your Mojo Back. So here's a list of everything again that you're going to get with this program. And I am going to start the timer here. And I'm going to do some Q&A right now. So if you have any questions about this program, about anything that I taught inside of this workshop today, I would love to answer those questions for you. And remember, you have just about 24 hours to get that $100 off of the program and everything that you see here. So if you want to enroll, highly suggest doing so now so that you get that discount. Okay. So Trisha says, are the coaching calls during the day or in the evening? So what we're actually going to do is once we, probably next week, sometime next week, we're going to do a poll in our Facebook group with the students and Get Your Mojo Back to see what time works best for most people. Originally, we had a time in mind, but then it seems like it makes the most sense to just do it based off of what works best for our students. So yeah, we'll let you know next week at some point after we do a poll to see what would work best for everybody. Ooh, I love this question. So this question from JB says, what do you suggest if your boss or team can interrupt your flow state and request something to be done immediately? / what if you're not 100% in control of your flow state at your day job? I love this question. So this is where boundaries come into play. And during actually Get Your Mojo Back, I talked about how I'm going to share my 3-step boundary boosting process. This is what it's for, this kind of thing. But I'll just add some color to it for you right now. So if you're in a state where people are interrupting you, or you're in like an open office environment and it's harder to get into your flow state, that's where you get to create boundaries. And if you think about what your boss wants from you the most is creative, productive, amazing work, right? So what you get to do, it's an opportunity for you to potentially grow, is to talk to your boss and your teammates and to create a boundary. And you don't have to call it that with them, but you can go up to them and say, you know, I just took this workshop the other day and I noticed that when I'm working in our office, sometimes I want to get into my flow state. I learned about that term in this workshop. And I learned that flow state is when I'm most productive, most motivated, I get the most things done. And I'm really excited to try it. But there was one issue that came up when I was thinking about it, when I was watching this workshop. And it's that sometimes because of our office, which I love, but sometimes people will come up to me and ask me for things when I'm in the middle of working on something. So I was wondering, would it be okay if, let's say, whenever I put my headphones on, it means that I'm in my flow state. And so for the next hour or so, I'm unavailable. I need to be working on this thing. Would that be okay with you? And ideally, your boss will say, yeah, that sounds awesome. You're going to be more productive. You're going to get more things done. Heck yeah, I want you to do that. And if they say, no, you need to work on this thing, I need to interrupt you whenever I want, then that's sort of your boss's own stuff that they need to work on. If they feel like interrupting you is a better way to manage people than letting people get into their flow state, that's another discussion. But if that's the case, then you can create your own barriers, like putting on headphones or finding other locations in your office where you can work. But what I would really just suggest doing is having a boundary conversation with your boss or with your teammates, and not framing it as like you're bad for interrupting me and you should stop, but framing it as like, I took this workshop and I learned about this and it's something I want to try implementing. Would that be okay with you? And just getting having a conversation with them about it. That can actually yield some really great results. It's something that I do too, because my partner and I, we both work from home in our separate businesses. And he used to come into my office and say hello and chat with me. And it was really sweet. And I obviously love spending time with him, but it would disrupt me. It would knock me out of my flow state. And so we had a conversation and I basically told him the same thing. Hey, I noticed that when you come in and say hello to me, as much as I love it, it knocks me out of my flow state. So would it be okay if I come to you, or if when my door is closed, that means I'm in my flow state. So please don't interrupt me. And he totally understood and it was great. So now whenever my door is closed, he knows not to come in. And if he really needs me, he can text me and we go from there. So great question. Okay. Cool. So great question. Can you talk more about the decision management matrix or framework? So yes. So during one of the weeks of Get Your Mojo Back, we're going to be talking all about decision management and creating your own framework for how you make decisions in your life and in your business. So we're going to go through a process together to understand what decisions are you making right now? How are you spending your time right now? And you're going to be so surprised when we do this exercise during that week, when you start to track the things that you're doing and actually evaluating what bucket they go into. So we'll have different buckets that all of your decisions go into, of like, is it the admin bucket of checking email and all that stuff? Is it the vision bucket of things that are actually moving the needle on the projects that you care about? So we're going to have all these different buckets and you'll be able to categorize the things that you're doing. And that will add a lot of color to what it is that you're making decisions about, how you're spending your time right now, so that you can make some really strategic shifts. So I'm going to share more about decision management strategies of how to make better, more aligned decisions so that you actually free up more time in your schedule, so that you stop doing tasks that aren't moving the needle on the more purpose-driven projects that you have, the things that you actually care about doing, and that you can actually evaluate what projects and decisions am I making to please other people versus things that actually fulfill me. So I'm really excited about that week. I think it's going to be pretty life-changing for you. All right. Chinako says, your newly designed office looks fantastic. Thank you so much. I love it too. I'm so excited about my office space. I just pretty much just finished it, actually. Just installed this bookshelf last week. So it's pretty much done now. Do you find that having it set up in a new way has helped you find your mojo and increase your flow state overall? Q, location. Love that. Yes, actually. So it's not so much that it's helped me because it's designed in a new way. I do like new things and variety. That's part of my personality, is I do like changing things. My boyfriend knows I'm always like changing one of the rooms in our house. So that is something for me that I love, but you don't have to change the decor of your office or wherever it is that you work in order to get into your flow state. But one of the things that we talk about during the flow state framework week in Get Your Mojo Back is, remember the 4 things: the body, mind, spirit, atmosphere. Well, atmosphere is a big one. So designing your atmosphere to help you get into your flow state, whatever your atmosphere would look like for you. So for me, I love color, I love patterns, I love design. I love when things are clean. If it's messy, then it really pulls me out of my flow state, because I'm just thinking like, oh, I gotta clean that later. So for me, that's what it looks like. But for you, it might look different. And we're really going to investigate what kind of atmosphere is going to help you get in the zone more easily and more quickly, and help you design that. It's a really fun part of the program. Okay. So I know we've had some other questions about when does the program start. So the first class is going to be next Thursday. So next Thursday, and we're still deciding on a time. We're going to poll our students to see what works best for everybody. But next Thursday, the program will start. And that will start with our first masterclass about uncovering that root cause of why you're feeling unmotivated, burnt out, exhausted, overwhelmed, and really dig to the bottom of your well, pull that out so that you can get the best results from this program. And following that, we're going to do our live group coaching call where you'll be able to ask questions, get feedback, do one-on-one hot seats with me. So every week on Thursdays for the next 4 weeks, starting next week, we're going to do that. So next Thursdays when you'll get access to everything inside the program, the guided meditations, journal prompts, creative quests, all the things. Yeah. Messy absolutely pulls me out of my flow state too. I get that. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah. Okay. So Janet says, do you accept PayPal? I believe we do accept PayPal. If you go over to, if you click the button right below this video and you go to our enrollment page and you click the enroll now button on that particular page, whatever option you want, yeah, there is a PayPal option where you can pay. So whatever way works best for you, credit card or PayPal, you can use that. Okay. Ooh, good question. If we already know we can't attend some of the classes live, is it worthwhile to sign up? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no reason why you have to come to the live classes. I just want to do them live with you so that we can have this program be 4 weeks of master classes, because I think it can be helpful to space it out since there is implementing you'll get to do and a lot of information that you'll get to learn. But by no means do you have to show up at the live class. You can watch the recording later. As soon as I'm finished teaching it, you'll be able to access the recording, which you'll have lifetime access to watch whenever you want. And for the Q&A part or the group coaching part, you'll be able to submit questions ahead of time as well. So if you can't show up to the live class and you can't show up to the live group coaching part, I'll answer your question live if you submit your question ahead of time. So that is really helpful too. So you don't have to worry about coming to the live classes. Obviously, it's a party when you come to the live classes, and I love when people show up to those, but by no means is that a requirement, or is that going to get you like better results in the program or anything like that. Okay, so we've only got a few minutes left here. If you have any other questions, feel free to pop them in, but I'm just briefly going to go back over everything that you get when you enroll and get your mojo back, just so that you're all crystal clear on this. So it is a 4-week program. You can go in at your own pace though, whenever you want. You can do it in a weekend if you want to, once all the classes are released. And it comes with online workshops. So 4 online workshops. They'll each be about 45 minutes to an hour long, followed by a group coaching call with me where I'll answer all of your questions about lack of motivation, burnout, exhaustion, how to design your schedule to save time and make better decisions, all of the things. And I'll also be doing hot seats with you during that group coaching, which I think they're so fun because it's really one-on-one coaching that you're getting. And then in addition to that, you'll get the 4 weeks of daily journal prompts. Journaling has been one of my biggest opportunities for growth and self-discovery, but you have to have the right prompts. So I find that having journal prompts, especially guided ones like I'm giving you, it's basically like a journey you're going to go on with these journal prompts. So each day you'll get a new prompt on something you can journal about and really aid you in your self-discovery, help you uncover why are you feeling so unmotivated and tired all the time, and how you can get back to this place of vibrance and purpose in your life. Same thing with the creative quests and actually the meditation library, which isn't listed on here, but is also included too. So the creative quests and meditations are designed to help you reconnect to yourself, your creativity, and just come at life and your business in a refreshed and passionate way. And then, of course, we're going to pair you with your Bliss Buddy. So we've got a really cool survey that you can do, so we can find the best person in the program to pair you with, somebody that we think you'll just get along with really well, that will understand you, and that might even become your online BFF. And then you're going to get that live class with my personal doctor to ask all the health related questions related to motivation, energy, burnout, etc. And then finally, access to our members only Facebook community where I will be, where my team will be, and where all the other Get Your Mojo Back students will be to answer your questions, cheer you on, all the good things. All right, so we've only got about a minute left. If you have any final questions for me, I am happy to answer them. And thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here today and for all of your questions and comments that you've asked so far. I just appreciate you all for prioritizing your health and your motivation and energy, because I think it can be an easy thing to neglect or to like push through. That's what I did for most of my life, is I pushed through it, or I'd layer other things on top of my lack of motivation. I would add more projects, more to-dos, more things to keep me busy without actually addressing why I was feeling the way I was feeling, why I never seemed to have enough time. And you're actually tackling that. So kudos to you for putting your life and what happens in your life in your hands instead of just letting it happen. I think that's really beautiful. So for everyone who joined Get Your Mojo Back, thank you for being part of this program. I am thrilled to have you inside of this program and experience. And if you have any questions about Get Your Mojo Back, you can feel free to send us a message, send my team a message. And just remember that tomorrow at midnight, the price is increasing. So you get $100 off right now. So I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen. Okay. So it's like dark here now. It's about 6:30 here in LA. And I just want to thank you again for being here tonight. I am grateful for you and just so excited for the things that you're creating in the world. I hope that this workshop was really helpful for you and taught you a lot of useful things about how to get your mojo back and how to design a life that's going to bring you joy, fulfillment, and passion. Okay, guys. I'll chat with you soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day wherever you are in the world. Bye.